Hello everyone, this is Sam from PrismScroll, and I'm just going to go over the updates that I worked on today for the Player app. So basically this week I'm kind of hoping to work on smaller things, smaller bug fixes and quality of life changes, so I'll kind of go through some of those today. Right, starting with the Avery tutorial link. So when you export, oh, not that one. When you press on the Avery extension, there is a YouTube button. So that's going to go straight to the YouTube video that we made rather than just going to our YouTube channel. So cool, small change. There was an issue where languages and feats were appearing in custom selection groups. So those are groups that we want to add, but they're not set up just yet. So that's why those are, I'm taking those away for the moment. Somebody found them. It's good that people are using the custom selection groups. So that's nice, but those are not ready yet. So I took those groups away. The next small little change was recommended by one of our users. So basically, the standard classes have recommended skills that you should take. So basically we kind of implemented that here. So basically there'll be a primary and secondary stats option. So you can have those and those will appear on the card. So like, let's say you make a custom class and you want to give people an idea of what skills they should take or what stats they should have high, and, very first one, really important ones, and then somewhat important ones. You can now have that option here. The next change, so kind of an important one. So it's really funny because people, during a week time, people will ask, there'll be one thing that people will ask about continually. And it could be something totally random, and it's something totally different each week. So this week, the thing that people kept asking or having difficulty with was the character image. So if you didn't know, now you will, if you're watching this video, is that you can change the character image in the digital sheet. You can, in the paper sheet on the second page, you can press that, or when you create a character, you can add your character image there. But here, what you had to do previously was you had to long press the icon, and then it would bring up the options on, if you want to import or if you want to show the icon. So now you just have to press it rather than having to long press it, because long press is more of a kind of a discovery process, and not everybody, people probably just were like tapping it endlessly and tapped it 3 times and were like, oh, that doesn't do anything. So basically now if you just tap it, it will bring up the options. So if you have an image already saved, then it will give you the option as a second option to say if you want to show the image or if you want to import a different one. So I think that's a good quality of life change. So I'm glad that it's more of me trying to catch on and actually do the thing that everybody's bothered about. So it's good to get that fixed. Let's see. There were some issues. It's called a retain cycle. So basically when you go to a new window and you go back, sometimes things from the old window that you were at get saved, and then it causes this memory leak. So I've kind of recently discovered how to fix those things. So that's going to make the app faster and more efficient, for your power of your phone and things like that. So I've been finding those things and kind of slowly fixing those things. So I fixed that for standard character creation, which is a huge process. So that I worked on that one this time. Next thing is an item now has a identification on if it is a tool or not. So tool proficiencies, as everybody knows, we're not very good at tracking that right now, because right now a tool is an item. It doesn't have any classification as that deeper branch of, is it just a regular item or is it a tool that you can actually have a proficiency in. So now we're going to have that as an option. So that will be good. So when we start moving forward with this, I'll have something to sort all the items by and say, give me all the tools. And if you look at the card and it's a tool, then I'll give a roll option to roll with, do a dice check or something like that. So having that is a good thing, or it will be good for me to be able to sort and then be able to give you the options that you want to have, you know, be able to roll a dice check with your Tinkerer's Kit or things like that. So the next thing, small change for spells. So if your spell has damage, I'll just add something here really fast. It's going to ask how your damage is applied. So for example, you know, there's a couple ways that things can be applied, and maybe it's not damage, maybe it's just health. So like heal is 70 health automatically. So you wouldn't have to do anything because that's the default. But if you have something that has a dice check, like it has a DC value based on your thing, then you can select that. The most important one is to hit. So for example, Eldritch Blast, you have to roll to hit. So I want to, when the quick roller comes up, I want to automatically roll that to hit if it is necessary. So basically, this is another flag. Same thing with the tool, something that I can sort the spells by and say, does this have a attack roll that I need to make or not? And then do the appropriate thing or provide you with the appropriate options to work with. So that's kind of where that is stemming from. So that will be an option. All right, so next, as you know, you'll see these badges appearing everywhere, you know, the D&D, the canon, Unearthed Arcana, and then Homebrew. So still trying to implement that in all the appropriate places. So the next or last place that I added it was at the end of character creation. So basically when you finally get to the end, it's going to show based on your standard options, you know, your classes, subclasses, races, and then also your spells and feats that you select as well. So that's going to take that into account, and you'll know before you actually make the character if they are an official published character or not. All right, so let's see here. Fixed an issue with, there's some fixes to, if the title was too large for, I can kind of just give you an example. So this alert here at the top, if the title was too long, so like if it was like Eldritch Invocations, it went all the way to the edge of the screen rather than going to 2 lines. So fix that just for quality of life changes. As I mentioned, custom selections is a really complicated process behind the scenes. Like, why can't I just pick this? You know, like when you're providing this much flexibility, there's a lot of things and a lot of cases to go through and make sure that you're doing it correctly. So I was playing with it a little bit today, found a couple bugs, which is great because then I can fix those things and throw them out to you guys. So found a couple of those things, and we're going to be rolling those out here soon. Some of the changes, which are kind of important, are importing changes. So it wasn't importing currently on the current build, which is 3.6.1 or something, or 2. You can't import selection groups that are attached to features. So like custom selections, if you made one and you tried to share it with your friend, it wouldn't work right now because I had an issue. So fix that today, so that will be good. And then when we start updating the batch, which I did today, with, you know, charges, having all the classes have charges and adding their selection groups and things, it will be good so that you can just re-import the batch and update all of your content that you currently have. Another issue that somebody noticed was starting gold is not updating correctly unless you picked Acolyte, because that's the one that I was having hard-coded. So I made some changes to how I search for that. Basically, if you create a background and you're making starting equipment and you want to have starting gold, make sure that you use the full name of the currency. So for example, you can see your number 6 is gold pieces. If you were to put GP, it wouldn't work. So for example, that's where I'm going to draw the line. If you want it to be, if you want it to catch as starting gold or starting money, make sure you write out the full currency name. So for example here, 10 gold pieces, or for example, I think the sailor or somebody else had one where it was gems worth 10 gold pieces. So basically, if you wanted it to not get caught and you want to keep that gems as a separate item, you would put 10 GP worth of gems so that it wouldn't catch it and it wouldn't add it to your, your starting gold. So that should be working a little bit better. All right, so then finally, let's see here. Finally, I think another one of my weekly things that a lot of people asked about was, so I implemented the changes on the spell pages and the spell and equipment page. So you see this the search bar. So basically, if you drag the search bar up, it can now go near the top, and then you can scroll the bottom table more. Or you could drag it to the bottom so you can see your constants. So what ended up happening was some people they would start scrolling the table down here. If I can get it to work, stuck. All right, whatever. So they scroll the table down here, and then they're like, I can't see the bottom. What's wrong? So basically, what you have to do is you have to scroll the search bar to the top. So right now it's not working the best. So what I did, you can see here, is now there's new button that kind of indicates that you can move up and down. So you can see here the up and down button. So what it will do if you press it, it will move the search bar to the top of the screen if it is not at the top of the screen. So, or it will just switch spots. So it's an easy actual button way to move the screen up and down, which I think it worked out really well. It's really nice. So that will be a nice little addition there that you can use for the equipment and spell screen. Another thing you'll see here is that there's more space on the bottom here for your items. So basically what it was basically the spacing at the bottom was about there, right about here, if you had it scrolled all the way up. So basically there was the bottom item was still kind of hidden behind it. So I made that space a little bit more so that you can actually get it all the way to the top. So that is a good and nice change. And I think that is about the last thing I worked on. And then there's one thing else that I was kind of working on. So I am obsessed with this type of view here. So basically the wrapping tags. So the one where if I can get a good example, it's basically the skills. So I love the idea of this view here where it wraps around, and if it's too wide for the screen, it will adjust and it's adaptable, and I just love it. I like it a lot because you can see everything, and the problem is I can get it to work with one size, right? So if I knew the width of this thing and it doesn't rotate or anything, it's fine, it works fine. But when you actually rotate it, that's when it becomes an issue. And I made a really complex and horribly complex thing in the Genie app, right? So if you go to the settings and you're looking at this, so here it is working, right? But it's just it's really complicated behind the scenes, and it's just not friendly. It's not simple. You don't just give it stuff and then it's done. It's super complicated. It's way overcomplicated. So something that I tried to do here and actually accomplished was a simpler method that actually works with rotations. So basically what I want to do, another mention from a user was to make folders look different than character tiles. So basically what I'm going to do, if you can see here, I like to sketch things. So I can show you my sketch. What I want to do is, you can see there, basically what I want to do is have the folder name, and then I want to have as many of the characters that I can fit in a tile available. And then you can see, if you're looking over there, there's a plus. So like, let's say you had 20 characters in a folder, right? And then it would show as many characters as it could that you could press on without even having to go into the folder at all, and then look at the sheet, and then it would have the plus. So like, let's say it would have 6 of the names, and then it would have the plus, which it would open the folder, and then you could press on one of those. I think it's going to be pretty cool to be able to see the characters that are in there see the characters that are in there and then press it without even having to go into the folder in the first place. So that will be a nice little addition. I finally got it figured out. I couldn't fall asleep last night because I was thinking about it too much, because like I said, I'm obsessed with that type of view and just the ways that I've done it. I've done it so many different ways now, and this is actually the first. I got it to work with one line, so now I just need to, keep wrapping it or add the logic to wrap it. So, all right, well, I babbled for 15 minutes. That's quite impressive. All right, so that's all I got for today. I think tomorrow what we're going to do is... I think what I want to do is bring the features interface from the digital sheet pages to the paper sheet. So basically, essentially replacing old features with these pages, just like I did with the dice. So the dice uses the page in the digital sheet here. You'll see it uses the same thing. It's just a little bit bigger and it takes up the full screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to drop the page in, these 3 pages in, and then do the same thing there with old features, because now that we're kind of moving away from that, the paper sheet needs a way to track those things, and this is essentially deprecated, if you will. It's old. It's not going to be used anymore. So that's what we'll be doing tomorrow. And then I think I'll probably do an update after that, because I've changed a lot of little things. So, and then there's some important fixes in terms of being able to import those things in there in the first place. So that is what I'll be doing tomorrow. So check in with me tomorrow and see that, and then we'll see if we're ready for an update or not. But all right, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, kudos to you. All right, later.